Hello.
Hello, and hello to you all, and welcome to the Cup TV, the Currently Unnamed Podcast, where we put the real and the tea in reality, and where you can always come to us first to quench your reality thirst. I am your girl Lana, your resident evil diva, and I'm here to give the tea, spill the tea, and drink the tea because I love me some tea. Purr. And if you have some tea, you know what to do. Hit me up. I am currently back to my old faithful of strawberry sunkiss. Love it, need it. I just drink it. My insides are probably upset with me because I need more water, but I can't help it. But I do have water somewhere over there. But if I was drinking anything else, which I probably should in this cold, cold room, I should be drinking something hot in my cup mug. Ooh, a panel full of cup mugs. Beer, 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 beer. I have to do a party for the cup mug party. Hey, a panel full. We love to see it. But, you can get your cup mug and be like Jack and myself at LanaG'sCreations.etsy.com, where we do ship internationally and domestically in the US. So there are no uses. And I'm just looking at everybody because I really don't know where this show is filmed. So
Uh
everybody,
I want to say somewhere in the Mediterranean, but I'm not confident.
not confident either. So I'm just gonna say everybody, just get your cup merch, your cup mug, or any of our other cup merch. Period.
And my name is Jack. I am the resident game designer of the panel, and I would never cut you out of the trust publicly.
Period.
Absolutely in private. Yeah, no, I want the
Absolutely,
money.
privately. 100. Absolutely cut you out privately. But Jack, I would never cut you out
Yeah,
because
no, I'd never cut you out.
I
Never.
never cut you out of the
Never.
trust. No, why would we do that? But we are talking about the trust and all of its greed and shadiness and behind the scenes backstabbing. But before we do that, let's take care of a little business here first, people, huh? Shall we? Subscribe to this channel. You see me and Jack. You love me and Jack. You appreciate me and Jack. And we're giving you great content. So subscribe to this channel where we talk about almost all things reality TV and a little bit of stuff in between. And we post content almost every single day about almost all things reality. So subscribe to this channel. If you're a fan of Drag Race or drag in general, and you are like, hey, where's the channel that discusses all things drag? We got that for you. It's the cup pod, the cup of reality. The cup pod is where it's at, and we discuss almost all things reality TV. I mean, not reality TV, almost all things drag and drag race are related, and we post content almost every single day. And then, if you happen to be a fan of Eurovision, we got a channel for you too. It is the Cup ESC, where we discuss almost all things Eurovision. And right now, when I tell you that channel is popping off, it's recordings happening all the time and content getting put up almost every single day. We are in the thick of things in Eurovision season, so that channel you might want to check out if you're a fan of Eurovision. If you haven't heard of Eurovision and you want to know, hey, what the heck is Eurovision? Go check them out. They'll let you know. And yeah, do all those things. And if you happen to want to give back to this podcast and help us grow, you can donate monetarily to this podcast on our main channel at the Cup Pod and hit that little dollar money sign below where you can give us the super thanks. And we appreciate that because all of the money that you give to us goes right back into this podcast so to help us grow and to help us give better content to you. So thanks. Now that we got all of that out of the way, we're talking about the trust. Episode 4, about episode 5, 6, and 7. And when we left off, we saw Julie and Brian at their adventure, and they both were into the secret vault, and they both had a chance to take the vault or not take the offer in the vault. And Brian had said he was not because his integrity was not for sale. And he slipped that back. And Julie said, well, mine is, so thank you.
I mean, yeah, this show has been really interesting so far. It has truly shown how different people from all walks of life view money and opportunities to benefit themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, no, if anyone had asked, like, yeah, no, who's actively going to open this? My
I,
answer would have been Julie.
I absolutely knew it was Julie.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There was no question in my mind that she would be the one to take the offer. But she took the offer, and that was it. We didn't find out what the offer was until the beginning of this episode, and we find out that the offer is she gets 10,000.
So she must vote for someone at
Right.
the next trust ceremony.
Absolutely.
Guaranteed, she does not have the option to say no.
Right.
If somebody goes home, she takes 15,000 from the trust
15,000.
and
Mhm.
locks it for herself.
Absolutely. So $15,000. I was confused about how much, but yeah. So Julie was like, "Okay, well, now I have to vote somebody out and make sure somebody goes home. Let's see how that works." So they didn't have to tell each other if they took the offer or not, and so they go back to Julie goes back to Brian, and they're like, "So." He was like, "Yeah, the offer was presented." She said, "Yeah," and he was like, "I did not take it," and she was like, "Yeah, neither did I. Couldn't do it." She said, "I thought about it, back and forth. I thought about it, but I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it." And she was just like, he was like, "Yeah. So what do we do? What do we tell him?" She was like, "I don't know. We should tell him." He was like, "I think we should. We should definitely tell him. Absolutely." Brian is very much on this moral ground of tell everybody everything, be very transparent. We want to work with the team. Everybody needs to get to the end. Yada, 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 yada. Except when it's time for everybody to get to the end, then it's not so much because everybody is not on equal playing field as he assumed they were. So, but as of right now, he wanted everybody to get to the end, everybody to be straight, and they were going to tell him. So she was like, I mean, I'm gonna back you up, whatever you want to do, but I don't know if we should. But she said, I just don't know. But they agreed to eventually go back and tell the house what happened. And so they go back and they tell everybody that they were at a secret vault and that there was an offer that if they looked at it, they had to take it. And both of them like, and neither of us looked at it. We couldn't do it. Everybody was like, wow.
Wow,
Wow.
that's really impressive. And Tolu, in confessional, immediately says, yeah, no, Julie took it. 100%. There's no question. And
She did.
she did.
She did.
Tolu
Tolu,
has a perfect read.
she had a good read. She was like, because Julie is like me. And I would have took it. Of course I would have took it. Why wouldn't we take it? It? And so they were like, okay. But so they go upstairs and immediately Tolu, Winnie, and Lindsay even were like, well, Tolu and Winnie talked to Julie and they were like, hey, we talked to Lindsay and Lindsay was like, she's okay with voting Bryce out. So we should vote Bryce out. And Julie was like, well, hey, this makes my job even easier. I'm getting ready to bank this 15 G's because now I don't have to convince people to vote somebody out. They're just willing and ready to vote out Bryce. So I don't have to work. I was like, work. I mean, honestly,
Yeah.
I wasn't mad at Julie for taking this offer. I would have took it.
I mean, what honestly was she going to say other than, yeah, sure, like
Right.
that's good with me? Julie already was not on good terms with Bryce.
Absolutely.
Ever since Bryce was revealed as a millionaire, Julie was like, yeah, get him out. I don't think he deserves any of the cash. And we find out later on that not only is he a millionaire, he's kind of oblivious to what that means.
Right.
So I
Let's
mean,
talk about the Bryce of it all. Go ahead, Jack. I want you to talk about
Julie
the Bryce
Julie's
of it all.
whole read on this is pretty perfect, all things considered. She's
Mm-hmm.
like, Bryce doesn't realize how much this money could mean. It's going to be very, very small to him. And if he's only here for the experience, then I'm not sure he deserves any of this cash. He can go and he had the experience. That's
Mm-hmm.
all we care about, right? And it's interesting because at the same time that this is happening, Julie is also getting very close to Jake. And
Mm-hmm.
Jake, of course, with basically all of the other men of the house, has decided we're going to be strong, strong men, and we're not going to vote out anyone, and we're going to keep it all together. And Julie is kind of now teetering on a line with Jake because
Mm-hmm.
they're getting very close. But Julie has possibly been one of the shadiest people here in terms of voting record.
We should all aspire to have the confidence of a straight white man.
Exactly. And just, it's a very interesting dynamic because I'm pretty at this point, it has no idea that
Oh,
Julie
absolutely.
is lying the entire time.
Absolutely.
And
Because
Julie knows this and is like, I'm not sure how I'm going to play the rest of this game.
I mean, it's just all the men are just like, we're going to play this game and all of us are going to trust each other and da 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 da. And we're not going to lie and we're going to be very honest about everything we're doing. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
In this game? Yeah, because we're good with $30,000 a piece, right? When we could have more? What?
What? No.
No. This is the
No.
game, right? But they are on this moral high ground of we are not, our integrity is not for sale, everything is not for sale. We're good until there's blood in the water, and then we feel like we have to fight back. And I'm like, okay.
And to add on to the Bryce of the situation, we then see Bryce talking to Lindsay.
Mm-hmm.
And Lindsay is actively coaching him through what to say because she knows he's about to get murdered. And she's like trying to soften the blow a little bit and trying to bring it in. It's like, Bryce is like, look, I need this money for my people. I have 6 people below me. Like, I need to do it for them. And Lindsay's like, that's not working. I'm just going to tell you straight to your face. That's not going to work. And she's realizing very, very quickly that Bryce lives in a completely different world because of the money he has.
Mm-hmm. He doesn't live in the real world, as she puts it. He's just very much in his, and which is true. I feel like Bryce is not. He wasn't aware of how his privilege was coming off of how entitled he sounded in that moment where he was like, I couldn't be myself. I had to hide my Louis Vuitton toiletry bag, and I couldn't wear my Armani shoes and wear my Gucci watch and da da da. It's just like some of us have never ever worn Armani, Louis Vuitton, Gucci, anything in our entire life. And because we couldn't afford to, not because we didn't want to, we couldn't afford to. Like there was not an option for me to get a Louis Vuitton toiletry bag. Like
It just, the concerns are so different for Bryce.
it is.
It's like, I started with my mom when I was 14. So
Right.
you were fully grandfathered in.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's like, oh yeah, no, I was the youngest person at 21 to sell anything. Not because at between 18 and 20 you founded your own business. No,
Right.
because your mom gave you that business.
And she been teaching you the business since you were 14.
It's just
14. You had years and years of experience. So by the time you got to 21, you knew what you were doing and you were able to sell such big houses and make that kind of money. At 14, most of us was lucky that if our parents allow us to get a job at McDonald's in a couple years. Like, whose first job at 14 was working at a real estate company with their parents? No, folks' first job is I worked at McDonald's. I worked at some fast food restaurant. Those are people's normal first jobs.
yeah. And at this point, the experience is splitting money.
Yeah, yeah,
And Bryce has not actively shown to the group that he deserves to split that money.
absolutely.
And Lindsay, in this moment, has that final realization of, I can't protect him. And at that point, we basically go right to the vote.
Yep. And they asked Bryce, listen, what is your, if you're here for the experience and what is your reason? What is your why? Tolu was like, what is your why for being here? And Bryce went all over the world, all around the world and back again, and never even answered. We still don't know why Bryce was there. I don't think Bryce knows why he was there. Bryce is like, I'm here just because I'm here. I had an opportunity to do something different and I did it. And if that is your why, then say that. Like, you know what? I understand. I know y'all are like, this boy don't deserve to be here. He don't need the money. But let me tell you something. I may not need the money as desperately as other people, but in order for me to get my own business for my own self with my own, not my mom's business, I am going to need some money. I am going to have employees. The money that I have now is not going to cover everything I need to start my own realtor business and da da da. He could have at least said that. Now I still don't think that would have did any good, but he could have at least
It would have
said
been.
that.
It would have at least been a defense. He actively gave nothing.
Absolutely
He
nothing.
danced around the answer to the point where people were clapping in the audience. Like, it was bad. And at that point, his fate is pretty sealed.
It was pretty much sealed. It was like there was nothing he could do. Bryce was eliminated. It was bad. It was just like there was nothing.
However, oh, go for it.
Go, it's done. It's done. Bryce is done. He's out.
However, we do have some interesting votes.
Mm-hmm.
Tolu, Julie, Winnie, all expected votes cast for Bryce. Jay, Brian, Gasper, and Jake don't cast votes.
Yeah.
Maybe Jay would have been slightly expected to cast a vote, but the other three, not a surprise.
I mean, we did hear Jay go. He can't be sorry for having money. He can't apologize for having money. So she was kind of on his side, like he has money, and so what? That doesn't make him less deserving to be here. He was here for the experience. He's here. He can't, and I agree with that. He can't apologize for being who he is. He didn't he wasn't privy to change the fact that he was born into money. He literally had money from his birth. He couldn't change anything. So we can't like ostracize him or say he doesn't deserve anything because he was born into money. But the fact that he didn't help himself and acknowledging his privilege, make a deal, like be like, y'all, look, here's the deal. I just want to be here for as long as I possibly can. And I promise you, at the last moment, vote me out. I'll vote myself out. I don't need the money. I just want to be here in this experience with you guys and enjoy this. That would have made more of them feel so much more comfortable with keeping him there. And if he would have stuck with it, good. If he didn't, good. Because like that's the game. You have to do what you need to do in order to stay in the game. And he literally just was like dancing every issue and dancing all around what they wanted to hear from him. He could have been like, no, do I need this money? Am I like in dire straits for this money like some people are? No. And I respect that and I understand that. The reason I'm here is for the experience of being around people who I would never, ever have the luxury and the privilege to meet and get to know. And I would love to continue that with you guys because I would not have this opportunity in the little bubble that I live in. But now that I'm outside of my bubble, I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying talking to you guys. I'm enjoying experiencing, listening to your stories and knowing, and it's helping me and it's helping me grow. And I don't need the money, and I will be happy to step aside at the end. When we get down to it, vote me out. You can have my part of the trust. I don't care. Like if he would have said that, they would have kept that boy. They would have kept him. I promise you they would have kept him.
Yeah.
Because they trusted him all that time before that. But he just was like oblivious. But
And the full signifier of that is Lindsay.
Yep.
Lindsay doesn't want to vote against Bryce.
Nope.
But in her own words, I can't protect someone who can't protect themselves.
Exactly.
And she casts a vote for Bryce to go out, which is very much a backstab.
It very much is because she didn't have to.
But she did.
But she did. So Bryce is gone. People are kind of upset. The Bryce gets up and he's like, anybody want to tell me they voted for me? Everybody looks at him like, no,
we're
no,
good.
we don't want to tell you that. We're good. Don't worry about it. And he's like, oh, okay. And so he leaves. Jake, Gaspar, Brian are like, oh, this is it. They have provoked and woken the straight white man of the group. And now they're like, we have got to get him. We know who's in charge of this, and we got to get him. And the people in charge is Winnie and Tolu. And I was like, whoa.
Well, okay, hold on.
How is Winnie and Tolu in charge of the Bryce exit? Okay. Well, sure. Fine. Yes, they voted for him, sure. But how was it when she said multiple people voted and he was okay, but sure, just Winnie and Tolu. Okay. So they have provoked them and they are like, we got to start getting folks out. We got to get them out. They're playing us. We got to get them out. And it's Winnie and it's Tolu. So Winnie first, because we know Jay's a wild card, but she's not. We need to get out Winnie and Tolu first.
I wonder what differentiates Winnie and Tolu from every other person in the house.
Well, I mean, of course, Jay can't go see Julie's wrongdoing because he wants to kiss her so badly. He's losing his mind. He wants to kiss her so bad. His lips are so kissable. He just wants to kiss her. And apparently, Jake bonds with Lindsay. She's his truest and closest ally. I mean, we found that out, right? So yeah, of course, Jake and Brian and Gaspar don't see Lindsay or Julie as the problem. It's Jay, which I'm like, okay. But Jay's not even the problem here. Jay's not even the problem here. The problem is Tolu and Winnie. And I'm like,
And the only reason they've started targeting Tolu and Winnie is because Lindsay has just subtly leaked some information that, oh yeah, no, it was all Tolu and Winnie. It was definitely all of them.
mm-hmm.
And it's interesting
Mm-hmm.
because, you know, they've played Tolu and Winnie. Yeah, they've been a little shady, but they've kind of said everything out publicly. And yet Lindsay and Julie are the ones that have kind of been shady the whole time. Like, Julie, I mean, earnestly, yes. But Julie actively tried to thwart Jay's plan. And Lindsay has actively voted out multiple times.
Yeah.
And yet Lindsay's completely innocent. Julie's pretty innocent, maybe a little shady. Jay's like just a wild card, old grandma. And Tolu and Winnie are the real masterminds of the game and must go home immediately.
Absolutely.
But and it's confusing.
It's interesting because Lindsay is the one giving you this information, but it's Tolu and Winnie. Now, we don't think about the person who's gathering information and bringing information back to you might be the sneaky one and the shady one. No, it's the person who is them, and they're coming for you. Like you said, Lindsay throw out information and say, "Oh, it's definitely Tolu and Winnie." They did that when you were the main one voting for him too. Like, and here this is what bothered. Well, we'll get to it. We'll get to it later when we talk about Lindsay of it all. So the next day after this whole thing happens, and we get some Jake and Julie moments, which I really prefer to bypass all of that.
Yeah. Just it doesn't interest me. It's not why I'm here.
Me either. Same. Good. We get the Jake, Brian, Gaspar conversation about how it has to be Winnie. Well, Brian and Gaspar are like, we know Jay, she's wild card. But I think Brian is like, it has to be Winnie first. Winnie is the one. She's the head of the snake. It has to be Winnie first. And Gaspar's like, yeah, I think so. So then they bring in Jake, and Jake is like, okay, yeah, all right. Winnie is the target. Let's get out Winnie. Let's do that. So they go to bed knowing their plan full well is to get out Winnie first. That's how they were going to do. And then Tolu would be next, and then Jay. That was their hit list. And they were like, we can pull in Lindsay and Julie. I think Lindsay is more on our side. And Julie, Jake, with this whole Julie Jake situation, Jake could kind of maneuver his way into making Julie be on their side. So it's 5 of us against the 3 of them. We can make it work. Let's do this. So the next day, everything is all good. They're doing their thing. They're having their conversations. Everybody know where they're going to go. Winnie and Tolu are trying to figure out the best move to, for them now that they got it Bryce out. They think we still got a hope with Julie, but they have a conversation with Julie that makes them a little hesitant in believing that they have Julie, because Julie's kind of like, I mean, I don't want to get rid of Jake. And they're like, if we do have to get rid of Jake, are you down? She's like, but why? Why would we do that? And I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm like, basically, this is my problem with Julie. I need Julie to have a mouth and a backbone. Mm-hmm. Like, straight up sit here and tell people, like, hey, listen, I know we working together, but I also want to work with them. Why can't we all go to the end together? Must we continue to vote out people? Could it just be, now that we got it down to us and we got out the people who we felt like didn't deserve it, can it just be us? I want to take Jake and let him go home with something. I would like to go home with something. I want the 2 of you to go home with something. Can we all just work together? And if she would have talked to Tolu and Winnie, I'm like, I know if we could just all be on the same page, we can do a no vote from here on out. which is possible if people would stop being weird. But all of them were like, it has to be us against them, us against them. I don't understood this because this is a game where everybody goes home with money. If you
That's the
just
point.
not vote, everybody can go home with money. And I'm like, why are we still fighting? It's still whatever. If it's $25,000 or $30,000, it's more than what you came in here with. It can work and be a good amount of money in your favor. Why are we being like, I want it to be more. I need it more and more and more. But that's the whole thing of greed, the story of greed. And it's like, do you always need it to be more and more and more? But I needed Julie to just speak up and say, I'm not willing to get rid of Jake, just like I'm not willing to get rid of the two of you. So we need to all work together or it's not going to work. And it could have worked, but Julie was kind of just like, yeah, I don't know. I don't think. The boys are on the other side telling about Julie that she needs to get rid of Winnie. Winnie and Tolu are telling her they need to get rid of Jake. And Lindsay decided in that moment, you know what? I am no longer with the girls. And I was like, wait, what? What just happened? Because when the Bryce vote came in, Tolu and Winnie talked to Lindsay, and Lindsay was like, I'm down to get rid of Bryce. And now all of a sudden, this was all their fault.
I was very confused. Both sides.
She's playing both sides. And then she's like, I feel safer with the boys. So I was like, you've been one of those girls. You've been one of those girls. You weren't that girl that came in female strong. I want to work with female. You were always that girl in sheep's clothing to me. Like, I just believe she was always that girl. She was never the girl's girl who wants to work with girls. She was like, I'm sort of kind of working with the girls until the boys accept me. And then I'm going to go to work with the boys. That's, in my personal opinion, I felt like that's who she was this whole time.
It was very deceptive and very confusing. And I mean, it just showed that she was willing to betray anyone, because literally she goes from like, oh yeah, no, let's keep getting people out and trying to support Tolu and Winnie to, oh, Tolu and Winnie no longer have the numbers because Julie and Jake are kind of a pair. Well, I'm going to no longer work with them and try and get them out because it gives me the most money.
Right.
And it's pretty blatant. Mm-hmm. But we see that blatancy come to full effect.
Yes.
And we see the beginning of the end. Like this particular trust exercise that comes up here literally writes the next 2 or 3 rounds.
Absolutely. So the trust ceremony is, they have everybody has 3 candles, and they're sitting across and they're blindfolded, and each person will go after they get their shoulders tapped to go blow out a candle. And the first person who loses all 3 candles are out. And you have to blow out the candle of the person you trust the least. Who's the liar? Who has lied the most in the game? Who has told the most lies in this game? And so the boys already knew what they were going to do. They were already like, yeah, we know what we're doing. They knew that Winnie was going to be their target. There was no point of hiding it or playing. They knew Winnie was going to be the target. So we see Julie gets tapped. She goes and she blows out Jay's candle. And then Jake gets tapped. He blows out Winnie's candle. Gasper blows out Winnie's candle. Winnie blows out
believe it's
Brian.
Jake.
Brian. Winnie blows out Brian.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, Winnie blows out Brian, and Tolu blows out Jake. And Brian didn't even get to blow out anybody's candle, because by the time it got to him, Winnie's 3 candles were blown out. So when Winnie Her candles get blown out. Brooke goes to Winnie, taps her on the shoulder, tells her, "Come with me." And she comes over and she hands her a key to the vault. She was like, "All of your candles are blown out. You get a key to the vault, but shh." So Winnie goes, sits back down, put her blindfold on, and then they take it off. And she's like, "Well, Winnie, you see all your candles are blown out." And Winnie let him have it. She was like, "This was a punk move." She cursed about. I don't curse, so I'm not gonna say everything verbatim or what she says, but I'll quote phrase. She said, "This was a punk move. Y'all cowards. Y'all did this under the shroud of darkness, and y'all know I've been telling you straight up what I do. I've been honest and upfront about my things. I own my stuff, so I just see what it is now. I see what's happening now. I see the game is on. So there we go. There we go."
And
yeah.
Tolu and Winnie immediately read the room and see, okay, it was Jake, Gaspar, and Brian.
Mm-hmm.
Which, under all circumstances to that point, that is
It
a
would have been.
perfect read.
Absolutely.
And it makes the most sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, they all talk about it later. And all of the girls are in the bathroom. And all of them fess up. Well, almost.
Except Miss Lindsay. She was like, "Oh, I didn't get to vote. So I didn't vote. I didn't blow out any candle." And we like, not me, I'm just sitting like, "Girl." But yeah, she's like, "I didn't get to vote." Because Julie told her she voted for Jay. Winnie and Tolu tells them who they voted for. And so now, and Lindsay says she didn't get to vote. So of course, Tolu, Winnie think that Brian, Gaspar, and Jake are the 3 votes that was winning.
Because they have no reason to doubt Lindsay at that point.
No reason. So Tolu goes out and she confronts Jake, Gaspar, and Brian. And they're like, hey, don't come at us. Don't talk like you can't just assume. Did you ask? She was like, "I asked everybody else. And everybody else said who they voted for. And I know that the 3 of y'all, it's obvious." And he was like, "Well, you can't say just assume we all vote." She's like, "But you did. But you did. And I know you did. So just know I know."
And to Gaspar and Jake, this is a completely accurate read. And they're just trying to defend all blame from themselves.
Right.
For Brian,
he is like,
he didn't vote.
He
like, never got a chance.
No.
So he's actually sitting down kind of dumbfounded and going, wait, what? Like,
why would you think it was me? Why would you just assume?
And Brian, immediate red flag in his head, goes, someone is lying to her.
Yep.
But before we get any of that resolution, we get Winnie entering the vault. If I remember correctly.
You are correct. Winnie does go into the vault. And Winnie gets an offer that if she looks at it, she has to take it. And Winnie is like, "Oh, I'm looking." And she looks at it and it says that you get $20,000 to the trust. From the trust. You get $20,000.
Locked.
If it's locked, done. If y'all vote out someone tonight. But if no one votes, you go home.
More specifically, if no one goes home, period.
There
could be votes. If the vote ties, Winnie's still gone.
She's still gone. Yep.
So Winnie now has to guarantee someone goes home in order to stay in the game.
Yep.
Which I don't blame her.
All right.
I really don't blame her for taking it.
I would have took
She
it
has
too.
no reason to touch. She has no reason to trust the group. The only person she trusts right now is Tolu.
Absolutely. And it makes sense. Like, even if I leave, I'm gonna leave with $20,000. If I stay, I'm gonna have $20,000 extra in my trust. But one way or the other, I'm gonna have $20,000. Period. And so when he goes and she tells Tolu and Julie a half truth. She told them everything about it. She just didn't tell them the amount. She told them $8,000 she would get if if someone goes home, and if not, well, she gets $8,000 if someone goes home, and if not, then she goes home. So she told them everything else except the amount, because she didn't want to tell them that she was going to get $20,000 instead of $8,000. So they're like, "Oh, okay." So Tola's
I
like, "Oh, okay, girl, what's up? You should have took the offer."
I do think there is a potential red flag for Julie here if she thinks about it. Throughout this game, the money
Mm-hmm.
has been increasing
Mm-hmm.
every time someone makes a selfish decision.
Absolutely.
Of course, she wouldn't reveal that she ever gained money from voting Bryce,
Mm-hmm.
but it's gone 5,000 the first time someone went to a vote.
Was it
10,000.
2,500? It was 2,500 to 5,000 first.
Yep, you're right. 2,500, 5,000, 10,000. She knows it's 15,000.
Right. It's
And
got to
that
go up.
15,000 was voting for someone and making sure they go home in
Mm-hmm.
order to gain 15,000. So why is it dropped in half, but it's now more dangerous? That should
Right.
have immediately raised red flags in Julie's head.
I
Like,
don't know if it did, but
I don't think it did.
I don't
But
think
for
it
me,
did. Yeah.
based on the nature of the game, that would have raised red flags of, wait, why did it get more dangerous, yet you're getting half pay?
But then she would have revealed that she knew it was $15,000
Exactly.
that she got, and that it was on her, because she wouldn't even known it got the $15,000, because if she didn't take the offer.
Yeah.
So she couldn't out herself, even if she thought about it. She couldn't say nothing, because that would have outed herself as taking the offer as well. So, but
yeah,
it would have put some red flags in the atmosphere, like, oh, wait, okay. But after that, after they do all of that, she tells them, and she's now like, I have to figure out a way to get some votes on somebody else to go home, or it's going to be me. And so when he was like to Julie, we got to vote Jake. Would you be willing to vote Jake? And she was like, why would I do that? Yeah, I don't. She's like, we need, or she was like, so you're willing to keep Jake and let Winnie go here? And they're like, why do I have to do that? Like, could we do anybody else? And it was just like, no, it has to be Jake. And Julie wasn't willing to do that. And she was like, I don't. And that set some red flags off into Winnie and Tolu. They were like, we can't trust her now. We can't trust her. And here's where I felt like Winnie and Tolu made a huge mistake. And yeah, I know I root for everybody black in these games, but when they make mistakes and they do wrong, I'm like the first to call them out on their wrongdoings. Winnie got too emotional. Tolu got too emotional, and they did not play this logically. They got to the point where, and they did that throughout this whole game. I will say that I felt like they played this game very much emotional based and not logically based, because you have to think, even though you're in power, you don't want to look like you're in power. And even if you have the numbers, you need to keep some numbers on the other side for you, just in case something goes awry. And they didn't do that. They didn't hardly talk to the guys. And so I felt like they kind of just shut off that whole trust communication. It was more like casual group setting conversations. It was no strategic talking and none of things like that afterwards, because they were so ready to just pick them off one by one that they didn't think what happens if the tide shifts. And they got too emotional because they called Julie in and then they just berated her about her relationship with Jake. Jake doesn't like you. He's not into you like that. Why would you do that? He's playing you for a fool. Stop playing. Da, da, da. And you alienate the whole thing with Julie when you need her to vote with you in order to get yourself to stay. And you already are down a number. It's kind of like you don't need to do that. Like, it kind of like very much, it was too emotional. And they didn't need to do that in that moment. It's a way to talk to people and how to get people to listen to you and think about what you're saying and maybe sway with you. They just went at it too hard, too hardcore, too aggressive, too like, you need to listen to me. And I hate that. I was like, Winnie, you don't have to talk, because you have to understand, read the room, know the people you're talking with, know how to deal with them. Julie's a very sensitive, insecure girl. Put that out there. She is. And you have to talk to her and speak to her with kid gloves, because if you don't, she turns into one of these. Y'all friendship is conditional. Everybody's friendship in that house is very much conditional. How well you talk to me and how nice you are to me is what if I will want to work with you and do with you. And if you get to the point where people don't want to talk to you or work with you or think, like you, they're not going to want to work with you. So you can't go off on people on a regular basis and expect it to be like, we friends, so I can just talk to you how I talk to you and just expect you to be all right with that. And she just didn't. I was like, no, Winnie, this is not the way to go about getting her on your side. It just wasn't. I was very disappointed in that fact. I was like, nah, I want the best for Winnie. I wanted her to be able to do better. But in that moment, she was just not doing it. It was crazy. I was like, you just lost the vote. You just lost it. You lost the number. And you didn't have that many to start with.
It fully shattered the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, it's pretty well over. Like,
the writing was definitely on the wall.
The writing's on the wall here.
Mm-hmm.
And then the writing gets a little clearer in the worst way possible.
Yeah, because then we have poker night, which turned out to be another trust ceremony. And they come out and they do this poker night, and it was like, asking different questions to build up things.
There is a little something before that is very important into setting this up. At least, because it happens directly before. I'm just trying to remember the exact order.
Okay.
Tolu pulls Brian aside and says, hey, I'm really sorry. Something felt off. Did you vote for me?
No, that was Winnie who said that, who pulled him aside.
Wait, what? Oh my God.
Winnie asked, because Winnie said, did you blow out my candle? And he said, no, ma'am. And she was like, huh. She said, because something feels wrong. And I don't know why this feels wrong, but something feels wrong. And she said, and she was like, because I asked people and they told me, and she said, and I didn't ask you. She said, so did you vote for her? And he was like, no, ma'am, I didn't. And she was like, okay. She said, I appreciate your honesty. And in that moment, when he knew, she was like, it was Lindsay. Lindsay did it. And she just straight up lied to my face and was like, I didn't vote. And so she was like, okay. So she goes to Tolu and was like, it was Lindsay. And they were like, she's dead to us. She said, but we gotta play nicey, act like we don't know, and still keep her on the side because we need the number. So we'll play nicey, not knowing that Lindsay had already jumped ship. Lindsay had already been gone. But
she's gone. Yeah,
she's gone. They didn't know that, but they were like,
they already don't have the numbers, but it's not like they know. And
they don't know at this point. So then we go down to the poker night. Have poker night, and it's another trust ceremony, and they have to like say who's the most loyal, who's the fun, who's the life of the party, these kinds of questions. And who you can only gain money in this game. There's no losing money from the trust, it's only gaining money. And certain people had chips. If your name was pulled, you get chips and da da da. At the end of the game, Brian has 25 chips in front of him. He got named a lot. Jay has 3 chips in front of her. So Jay is like, I see what's going on here. These people don't like me. These people are out to get me. These people don't want me here. So whatever. So Brooke says, since you got the least amount of chips, I'm giving you this key to the vault. So Jay gets to go down to the vault for the very first time. Congratulations,
Yay! Finally.
Yay, Mama Jay. I love that for her. But Mama Jay goes down to the vault, and they're like, we have an offer for you.
And you get to read it this time.
You get to read it. I was like, oh, okay.
There's one choice. You get to read it. It's going to be so simple.
Okay. And Jay opens that thing up and says, you get $25,000 if you go home right now. And Mama Jay was like, yep. I'm taking it.
I do not blame her.
I don't blame her at all. I don't blame her at all. I would have done the same thing because she knew they were coming to get her and they were coming after her. And she was like, I don't trust Lindsay anymore. She said, because after what we just saw, because Jake in the game and Gasper both said the person they trusted, who was their closest ally in the house, was Lindsay. And Jay was shooketh. She was like, wait, what? How was
it literally sets into a whole chain that starts with Jay looking at the offer and going, I don't have the numbers. I'm going to go out of here with nothing.
Yep.
Or I can walk away now with 2,500. Well, 25,000. I'll go home.
Absolutely.
And I don't blame her.
I don't blame her at all.
And as such, Jay walks with the $25,000 that the group just earned for doing quite literally nothing. And the only people who are to blame for this money going from the pot here is
Gasper and Jake. Absolutely. I refuse to put an X over Jay's name, as you all see, because she didn't get voted out.
She won.
She walked, and she walked away with money.
She walked away with more than she would have got starting this game.
Absolutely.
She won.
Absolutely. And I could not be prouder of Mama Jay. I was like,
good on her.
Queen. Yes, Queen. Good on you. Walk with that money. Let them deal with the rest of it. It don't matter what they walk away with. You got $25,000, and that's gonna help you. So I ain't mad at Jay at all.
So once again, bring older people onto reality TV. Like it's not hard to see this is a winning formula at this point. We have Jay, we have Diane from the Traders UK. We have, and this, I'm so sorry, Kasha Davis and Darian Lake from Drag Race US. We have Felicia Cannon and Cerie Fields from Big Brother.
Yep.
Like, we literally are just seeing, we have Julie from Survivor 45. We keep seeing examples of older women playing these games and doing amazing. And
Absolutely.
we're going to see Kim Mattina probably do the same thing on No Deal
Yep.
Island. So,
Absolutely.
producers, if you want someone who will not care and will play the game fully, cast as many people over 60 as fucking possible.
I'm gonna say if you get them over 40, that'd be great too. But if you get them over 60, baby, they just there and they don't care about nothing. They don't care about nothing. We saw, I don't know if you probably didn't see it, but we had Miss Kitten Caboodle on Drag Race Canada, who was 57 years old. Come on. It's just we Ginger Johnson won UK at the ripe age of 40 something.
It's just literally, they are people who will be pretty open and honest and will play the game because they don't have anything to lose.
Right. It's so good. It's so good.
There's
no
social media career to get.
That's true. If I said somebody's age wrong, my apologies, but I think there's 55 or 57 for Kitten Caboodle, something like that. But anyway, it's just, yeah, Miss J, I'm so happy for her. I'm glad she got to walk away with that money and not get voted out. Didn't give them the satisfaction of voting her out. I love that. But Brooke goes back upstairs and it's like, so Jay got an offer in the vault that she couldn't refuse.
She's gone.
And she's gone. And they're like, oh. The boys are kind of happy. They're very happy that Jay's gone.
They're like, good. One less person that we have to deal with.
And Tolu and Winnie are like, no.
That's it.
That's it. We got nothing. We got no chance in this house now.
I will say, though, Winnie is the person who says, we're done.
Yeah.
There's nothing more to do. But Tolu says,
wait,
we still have a chance. It may be small, but I want you to keep your head up. And I just want to say, the bond between Tolu and Winnie throughout this entire game, amazing. Just they were talking about how they were immediately sisters for life. You could tell. These are people who, no matter, you could randomize the universe over and over and over again. These two will always find each other and always be the best for each other. And having that kind of raw relationship on reality TV is something we don't get to see often. And when we do, it is so amazing.
It's so good. It's so good because it's like you need somebody who is going to have your back in these situations and in all situations, no matter what. And even when you see the writing on the wall, it's like, we can still do this. We can figure this out. We can change this writing. We can erase it and start over. But we need to keep our head up and have some wits about ourselves and see what we can do. Now, if it doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out. But we're not going to go down without trying. And we see that. We see the next day, we see Tolu go to Brian, which this is also for me, I felt like this is Tolu in self-preservation mode as well, because she knows it's not her right now, but it will be. But it's
likely her next.
Right. So she's like, I have to not only try to save Winnie, but I have to fix it and make sure that if she goes, I can have some kind of leverage or leeway to continue this game. And so she goes to Brian and she's like, listen, I owe you an apology. She said, I am sorry for coming at you the way I did because that was wrong. And I really just went off of assumptions and not off of, I never asked you. I just went off of assumptions. And I apologize for that because that wasn't right. That was unfair. And he was like, no, it's fine. She said, I just want to say because I went into self-protection mode. I went into protection mode. I felt like my family was being attacked in that moment. And I went into protection mode and I want to apologize for you because you didn't deserve that. And I apologize. And he was just like, wow. And I think in that moment, he would kind of realize, like, yes, we're trying to get out Winnie and Tolu, but in that order. But I don't know if Tolu is as bad as we thought she was.
I mean, that was the major thing, is that the whole pitch is that Winnie and Tolu are being shady and they're making all these underhanded deals and they're voting people out. Yeah, they got Joel's out, and yeah, they got Bryce out. They had nothing to do with Simone.
Nothing to do with Simone.
They had nothing to do with Jay. Jay walked. But still, it's like, have they been lying this whole time? I mean,
Nope.
Yeah, they lied about not voting, but like everything else they've been pretty upfront with.
Right.
And some of the other people you're associating with have not been that way. And I think this is the moment where the curtain kind of gets lifted over Brian's eyes and he goes, wait a minute.
All right.
What are we doing?
What are we doing? What are we doing? Is this so it really not really a lot of conversations. Oh, Winnie and Tolu were in the bathroom and they had already come to that conclusion about Lindsay, and they were just like,
Nope.
And so Lindsay comes up and she's like, hey, it's Lindsay, can I come in? And here's another place where I was like, Winnie, no. She was like, no, actually, no. And she was like, ooh, yikes. And she walks away. And of course, she immediately goes to Jake and Brian and Gaspar and is like, Winnie was like, I asked if I can come in the bathroom. They were like, no. And I was like, why do y'all do that? White women, why do y'all do that? Why do y'all take a simple no and turn it into the most aggressive no ever? They're denying me. They won't even let me in the bathroom. No, they're being so mean. Like, what did they say to you that was mean in that moment besides no? And she said, no, actually, no. She didn't go, no, you can't come in. Get the F away from the door. She ain't cuss you out. She ain't scream at you. She ain't do nothing that was really, she just said no. She said, no, actually. And you turned around, walked right down that hallway and was like, they were just, no, you can't come in. Like, why do you do that? Why do y'all do that? That's not.
It just, like, I love Tolu and Winnie. Wrong move.
Wrong move, absolutely.
Yeah, Winnie was already going home almost 100% there. That basically confirmed it.
Right. Wrong move. I am not denying it, but that was the wrong move from Winnie to be like that, because I'm like, girl, you need to have some kind of, you need to still try. But she was just like, no. But I don't like the way that Lindsay was also just like took a little no and turned it into the most aggressive thing she could have said to her. It was, I hate that. But why do we do that? But yeah, she was upset that they denied her entry into the bathroom. And so that was really, I don't think there was any more real conversations before.
There's not really anything else before the actual trust ceremony.
Right. So we get to the trust ceremony, and the votes, I mean, they go to start the table, and Winnie's like, anybody got anything to say? Anything you want to bring up? Any issues you want to address? And they're like, no. She's like, okay. She said, well, let me just say this, Julie, and Julie is we get Julie's confession like, oh no, here it goes. She's gonna call me out and tell all my business and all the stuff that I did to turn everybody against me. She was like, I like you, Julie. You and me made a promise that we would never vote each other, and I stick to that, and I meant that, and I meant that from the beginning, and I would never do it to you. And Julie was like, oh, that's it? Well, okay. And she was like, Jake, I always told you how I felt. We all knew where I was coming from. And I told you why I voted for Bryce and why this happened. And he was like, yeah, you did. You told me. She said, somebody in here have been playing both sides. Somebody in here has been going and gathering information from one side, bringing it to the other, and vice versa. And that's Lindsay. And Lindsay sits there like, hmm? And they're like, Lindsay has been bringing us information about what you guys have told her to us. And she turned around and take the information that we tell her to you, and have been voting in ways that she did not tell you. Like, if I see a snake slithering in the garden, I chop off the head of the snake. And she's like, I'm just letting you know that she has been playing this game very snake-like, very villainous, and everything. She has not been being honest and truthful. And we want to talk about family and how we all building this thing on trust and truth and honesty and that. She is not playing this game. I've been straight up and I own everything that I've done. But you know who is not on that thing? Lindsay. And that's what it is. So she put all the cards on the table. Tolu kind of backed her up on what she was saying. And then they were like, Lindsay, do you want to say something in defense? And she said, no. Now, I don't know about you, Jack.
This immediate, like, no, she should be Lindsay in all cases where this is false information. She immediately says, no, here's why you're wrong. She says nothing. And it's even revealed that everything the boys were saying when Lindsay was still working with Tolu and Winnie was told to them. That's why they knew things. And everything that they said were told to the boys. Nothing is denied. Nothing. And immediately red flags pop up where it's like, yeah, we can't really deal with this now because we all made a promise and we can't go and strategize, but are we, something feels wrong. And I mean, Jake and Gasper were never not going to vote Winnie here.
Oh, absolutely not.
Julie was never probably not going to vote Winnie here. Lindsay, okay, so realistically, Lindsay, Gaspar, Jake, always going to vote Winnie here.
Absolutely.
No question. Julie and Brian might have had hesitancy.
Mm-hmm.
And they showed a bit of hesitancy. But at the end of it, Brian says, I made a deal. I'm going to vote Winnie.
Yep.
Julie says, I made a deal with Winnie. I never would say her name. And I'm not going to. Tolu and Winnie both vote Lindsay, but 4-2, there's a majority. Multiple people receive votes, which is the first time we've heard that because it's the only time it's happened so far. Mm-hmm. Multiple people receive votes, 4-2. It's over for Winnie.
It's over. I hated everything. I hated everything about putting that X on her face.
It's horrible.
But it was like, I can't say she played a perfect game. She had so many flaws in her game. So I can't be like, I can't believe this happened. She didn't. she had flaws and she knew it. Even in her confessional on the way out, she was like, I need to learn how to talk to people better, be more compassionate about what I'm saying to people so they, so people will want to work with me. But it was just like, ugh. But it was so crazy because even with her gone, we got Tolu just sobbing. She couldn't. It was so tough. She couldn't.
This was, I'm going to say, probably the hardest moment in reality TV history.
Oof.
That isn't like anger, it's just sadness.
Heartbreaking.
It
was so heartbreaking.
Tolu is, you can tell that a part of her walks out with Winnie.
Mm-hmm. She was defeated. She was so defeated in this. I feel like in that moment, Tolu was like, it's me next. I know it's me. And there is nothing I could do with 5 people against me. There's nothing I could do.
It almost feels like the previous comment of there is a way out was almost like a big sister telling their little sister, you'll be okay. And like it honestly broke me. And I had to take at least a good 30 minutes to just be like, to decompress, because it was hard to watch.
Yeah.
But the strength of Tolu is just incredible.
It's those moments. I mean, we watch Big Brother, Jack. We know when we watch those moments where we see somebody realize this is the end of the game for them. They've been on the block. They played the veto. They lost the veto. They know the house is against them. And the house is starting to alienate them because they know they're going home. And they're sitting in their room under the blankets. And we see them under the blankets just laying there and just sitting there like, this is it. I left my whole house, my whole family to come out and do this thing. And now I'm done and I got nothing. What did I come out here for? Like, it feels very like that attitude of, what did I come here for? Why did I leave home to do this only to leave with nothing? And they're under the blankets and they're crying. And it was that moment because Tolu was just like, I'm done. There is no hope. I don't see the end of the tunnel for me anymore. She was my rock. She literally told Julie she thinks she was going to leave. She was like, I don't want to be here anymore. This person was the person who I come to and had comfort in when I was playing this game. And now she's gone and that's it. It was so heartbreaking. But Tolu goes to bed. She literally just like, you know what, I'm just gonna get in bed and I'm just gonna crawl under here and cry for a while. Which sometimes you have to do. But here's the thing. The next day, like any other game you play, you go to bed and you can cry and be upset for the night. But when you wake back up, it's game on. And it's time. It's a brand new day, brand new energy. Let's do this. And boy, was it a brand new energy in that house the next day. We get up and the guys are sitting outside eating breakfast. And Lindsay comes out and she's sitting there eating her breakfast. And so Tolu comes out and she sits down with the group like everybody, every day, everybody does. They sit down as a group and they eat and they talk. And they're sitting there. And Lindsay says, Tolu, can you give us about 10 minutes? Could you give us about 10 minutes? I have things so I want to talk to us. Could you go give us 10 minutes? And
what?
Tolu was like, oh, okay. All right. Tolu gets up and walks away and goes up to her room to eat alone. And Jake, Brian, and Gaspar are sitting there like, what was that?
And I would say this is a similar parallel to how Tolu and Winnie told Lindsay, no, you can't be in the bathroom with us.
Mm-hmm.
But then Lindsay takes out a shovel and just starts digging a hole. And she's just bad-mouthing every single person that is not currently there.
No, she starts talking about every person there.
Oh my God, yeah, she does.
She was going off on them right there. Like, she was just like, you guys played me, because the second they knew, why would you do this? I was the spy for you. And the second they knew that I was the spy, they turned on me because of what you, Jake, and you, Gaspar, did in the game. The second you said I was your closest ally, they turned on me and you threw me under the bus. And then you, Brian, telling her that you didn't vote for her. Y'all were supposed to protect me. I was your spy. You're supposed to protect me. And they're like, wait, we are protecting you. We're keeping you safe. We are doing. What are you talking about? She's like, you're an idiot, and you're an idiot, and you're an idiot. I was like,
So just to make sure on the math here. So Brian, the person who has been honest this entire time, not even lying by omission, because he says himself, lies by omission are still lies. He was just supposed to stay silent while you were essentially using him to lie.
Yeah. He was just supposed
What
to say,
part of mental calculus do you have to mess up for that to happen?
I would love to say that's girl math, but that ain't even girl math. That's ridiculous math.
That's just bad math.
That's ridiculous math. That is like, are you insane? Have you not met this person? Do you not know who he is? He does not want to lie in this game. And you were like, she was like, you could have just said nothing. Just say, I don't want to tell you that. Like, then that makes him look super sketch and guilty. Like, why would he do that to himself for you? Like, what? Child. She was going off. And so now Brian and Gaspar and Jake are looking at her like, well, more so Brian and Gaspar, because Jake is an idiot. I'm just going to put that out there. Jake's an idiot. Jake is just like, whatever. I said what I said. I'm going to do what I do. That's it. No moving, no shifting, no changing it, the course of it. It is what it is. Yeah, that's my move. I'm sticking to it. And so he has no flexibility in his game. But Gaspar and Brian went off and went to sit by the pool, and they were like, what the heck was that? Is she losing it? They were like, Lindsay, it's crazy. Like, why would she do that? What? And they were like, it just seems weird. And they're like, what if Tolu and Winnie wasn't lying? Lindsay was doing all this stuff. What if what we thought we knew about Lindsay wasn't what it was at all? Oh, yeah. And we forgot to mention that Brian got the card during the vote for Winnie.
Because he got the most chips. What? Why is he randomly getting a card now?
During the vote. But sure. Okay.
Sure. Why the hell not?
Why not? And because after Winnie's gone, Brian pulls out the vault card and is like, and so he goes to the vault. We jumped out of order. He goes to the vault. His offer, they said you can either look at this offer and you got to take it, or if you don't take it, we'll randomly give it to somebody else.
Which I think probably happens with most offers at this point in the game. And they just have never said it. Because everyone else is probably just going to take it. But Brian's offer is incredibly interesting. 30,000 goes to him immediately.
Absolutely.
No questions asked. But 3 random votes don't count. Regardless of what they say, those 3 people will not have a say in who goes home. And he doesn't want to take it.
Right.
But the part that gets him is the random element.
Absolutely.
And he says, the risk is too high. Someone else is likely going to take it. I'll take it myself. So Brian opens it. And he sees 3 random votes are getting voided.
Yep.
How are they getting voided? The poker cards! Yay! Those are coming back for some reason. And this is where I call bullshit. Because we'll see later on in the episode, but the 3 voted votes here, the 3 votes voided. Voided votes is apparently a hard thing for me to say. The 3 votes voided are suspiciously too good, because suddenly Tolu still has a vote. Brian, Jake, Julie all lose their vote. And this I kind of call bullshit on because it was recorded after the fact. So I kind of just think that the producers didn't that our lovely host didn't randomly just pick. No, those were 3 cards that were intentionally placed, and regardless of what was on the backs, they were going to be flipped because they weren't flipped in front of Brian. They were known.
No, he wouldn't know. He wouldn't know. But yeah, I agree with you. I think I didn't think about it while I was watching it, but once we started talking about it, I was like, oh, Jack might be on to something with these conspiracy theories.
I love Netflix. Okay, no, I don't. But I appreciate Netflix for their commitment to reality TV. I'll put it like that because they brought us some of the most inventive concepts that we've seen. With that said, they have also been known to absolutely rig things for people. Like literally look up Squid Game rigging. Do you really think they didn't rig some things? Like reality TV is already known as a whole for being full of riggery. For them not to have partially rigged this, I absolutely call bull. Did it provide, honestly, the best moment of the series so far? Absolutely. And we get to that. But
yes,
this was not a fair draw. Like, let's be real.
I was, you might not be wrong here, sir. Jack, you might not be wrong, and I might jump on the bandwagon with you on this one a little bit. It might have been a little.
It was a little shady, just a little bit.
And riggery going on, but it was interesting how it happened. But Brian, Jake, and Julie were the 3 people apparently who votes were voided throughout on the next elimination, on the next trust ceremony. But of course, Brian didn't know. He didn't know who it was. He had to leave before she flipped the cards over. So where are we now? Where are we now in this? Because we got Lindsay going off on the boys. We have Brian and Gaspar trying to figure out, is she crazy? Is what is happening with her right now? Um, that's we got some Jake and Julie moments now and the hot tub moments now. And then they went into the room and made Brian very uncomfortable. Brian was uncomfortable with the cuddling and giggling and sniggling of Jake and Julie in the bed together. But I don't think you have anything up until we get to the table. Right? Check anything?
There's not much.
Okay.
It's more people going, well, by the table you mean the beanbag circle, right?
Oh, the beanbag circle of
Because
trust.
there is one pretty big thing that happens.
The circle of trust.
The circle of trust.
Yes, the circle of trust.
Everyone gets on a nice beanbag on the lawn.
Mm-hmm.
And Brooke comes out with some lovely envelopes.
Lovely cards. Envelopes. Mm-hmm.
And all that's there is a simple
is their voting history. We do love a good reveal of the voting histories. I think Jack and I have played games where voting histories began revealed, and we're like, "Are you kidding me? I don't want people to know how I voted in silence, and so you can out me to everybody." But that's what happened, and Brooke says, "Hey, you don't have to open it if you don't want to, but if you do, it'll be $5,000 for each person who opens their envelope and reveals their voting history. That'll be $30,000 if everybody does it. And if we all do it, we will double it to make $60,000 going into the trust."
On paper, I don't have issues with this.
Mm-hmm.
In concept, this absolutely forces everyone to reveal their votes, otherwise they're done.
Right.
Like, unless either no one reveals it or everyone reveals it. And they knew what they were doing. They absolutely knew that everyone was going to reveal their votes. And I don't even think they really needed to double the prize fund for this. Like, they could have said, if all of you revealed, then everyone gets 30,000.
Everybody would have did it anyway.
Everyone would have did it anyway. But that extra little bit forced everyone to do it, because if one person said no, they would have been voted out regardless, but they also would have cost the group $35,000. And how dare they do that?
How dare they do that? You can't do that.
But, I mean, this very much goes the way everyone expects it to.
Mm-hmm.
Brian goes first.
Yeah.
Because, of course he does. And he's like, yeah, no, I voted for Winnie. This is not a surprise. And then Gasper goes and says, I voted for Winnie. And then Jake goes, I voted for Winnie. And great. Okay, we got the three people out of the way, $15,000. We're good here. There's no big deal. And then Tolu goes.
No, Lindsay goes first.
Oh,
Lindsay goes first. And she was like, because if I don't, it will only get
harder
for me. And I have to make them trust me. So I'm going to just do it. So she does it. And she was like, I voted for Jewels because I was voting with the girls. I voted for Bryce because that's what they wanted. And I voted for Winnie because I told you I would. And they were like, oh, you voted for Bryce? You didn't tell us you voted for Bryce. We didn't know you voted for Bryce. I didn't know she was voted for Bryce. Oh, okay. All right. So then Tolu goes. And Tolu's like, I voted for Jewels, even though my vote was canceled. I voted for Bryce because I told you I would. And I voted for Lindsay because I was trying to protect Winnie. I was
And
like,
yeah,
all fair. Everything fair. Sounds
and
right.
like she said, she was kind of upfront. She was like, "Yeah, no, this is an obvious read. Like, there's nothing I'm really hiding here because
Everything.
everything is true."
Everything I said, and I told y'all this. It is what it is. And so then we get to Julie, and Julie's like, do I want to do this? I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. Is this going to hurt me more than it is? I don't know. Ugh. She's like, okay, I got to do it though, because if I don't, they going to vote me out because they don't trust me. And they're going to start making up their own assumptions about what I did. So she said, I
And
did.
she has 5 different things. She has 5 errors because she honestly could have voted Winnie and been safe. But no, all her votes are revealed. And it is, yeah, I voted for Joelle's. I voted for Simone. And she does successfully explain that one away of, I was just trying to thwart Jay, and by chance, I did the worst possible move.
All right.
I
thought it
voted
was going to be
Bryce.
Jake. Hmm.
And I didn't vote for Winnie.
Nope.
And now there's a complete wedge because Lindsay can't be trusted fully, and Julie just straight up has been Julie's been the most shady.
Mm-hmm.
Realizing this and going, what moral code have we been using? Because obviously it hasn't done the right thing. And in Brian, Gasper, and Jake's mind, this finally makes them go, are we sure about this?
Yep. Is this the way to go?
Finally visible.
The red flags are just undeniable at this point. It's like they're shrouding us right now. How do we do this? So we leave the circle of trust, and I'm just gonna jump right to the table of the trust ceremony, and we talk at the table, and they're like, "What do we do? How will we? What can we do to?" Because I think Jake and Brian, and I think everybody was going in was like, at first it was definitely gonna be Tolu, but then it was like, now with everything that happened, I don't know. But this table did not make it any better. It made everybody even more confused because so Tolu and Lindsay, well, Lindsay starts talking about how she is not changing her mind. She knows what she's doing. This is what it is. Y'all said some very mean things to me. And she felt like she had been berated for 30 to 40 minutes. And she was very upset. And they said some very mean things to her and called her all kind of names. And she was not happy with them. And she does not want anything to do with Tolu at this point. And so Tolu was like, look, I am sorry. If anything I said hurt your feelings, I am genuinely, sincerely sorry for hurting your feelings from everything I said. And Lindsay was like, whatever. So Brian is like, can we figure this thing out? He said, because I genuinely want all of us to go to the end and share this money. And Lindsay was like, did you not hear the mean thing she said to me? Like, why would I do that? Why would I want her around when she said some very mean things to me? And so Brian was like, she said she's trying to give you an apology and set out for olive branch. And he was like, she's just not taking it. And I feel like we're in the middle of an argument between two people who are not trying to budge. And I was like, that's not true, because Tolu was literally trying to apologize and do the extended olive branch. Like, we don't have to like each other to work together. We can work together and not like each other, because there's a lot of people who go to work every day with people they don't like, but they still go to work. and they still make their coin. Like, you don't have to like me to want to work together for the good of the group. But Lindsay was just not having it. She was just like, nope, absolutely not. This, I got my people, y'all my people. She ain't it. She ain't my people. So I don't want to work with her. And I was like, ooh, well, in this moment, I was like, Tolu, go out like this. I didn't want it, but I was like, it looked like, I don't know. But we get the votes going, and we see Brian, he doesn't vote. Julie comes out. Julie, she's not voting for Tolu, so she doesn't vote. Jake, he's like, I don't feel the need to vote right now, so I'm not going to vote. Lindsay comes out, and she's like, oh, I feel very happy with my decision. I'm very content with what I'm going to do. I'm voting out Tolu. And then Tolu comes out. She was like, I got to be in self-preservation mode. And I don't think I got no leeway at the table. So I want to vote out Lindsay. And so then Gaspar comes down. And he's like, I don't know. It just seems like everything that I thought was going on in this game is not going on. And people who I thought were honest were not. People, I just don't know. This game has completely just blown my mind in the last, from what we just learned today and the conversations at the table. It just seems off. Something seems off to me, and I don't know what to do. And then we don't get anything. And so Brooke comes to the table, and she's like, so the trust has been broken. And somebody's going home. And I was like, it's going to be Tolu. I was like, dang, Tolu.
It's like she tried her best. Yep. She fought to the end. You know what? Good for her. She didn't give up, and that's all I can give her.
Exactly. I was like, she didn't give up. She's tried. And he said, the person going home is Lindsay. And I gooped, gagged, screamed. I was like
just like full won the lottery. Like, what?
Yes.
Hold on. No. I must have heard that wrong. Oh yes.
I gooped, I gagged, I screamed.
It may have taken a little while, but Gaspar's an ally.
I said, wait a minute. Dude, I'm doing it. Gaspar, here's my stand card. I said, Gaspar, here is my stand card. You have it. You own it. It is yours now. Take it. In that moment, he had my stand card. I screamed. I have screamed a scream that I've never screamed before. I was like, what? I could not believe it. I could not believe it. I love the fact that, Jack, that you were just as gooped and gagged as I was. I love
Literally, it. I was like, I very much like had my phone in my hand and was watching it as I was heating up soup because it was dinner time. And like literally Lindsay's name came up. My phone flew out of my hand. Like I was gone.
Through. I could not, like, my heart was like, I couldn't believe it. I just knew it was gonna be Tolu. I just knew it, but I was like, oh my gosh, this was so great. And she was shocked. Lindsay was shocked. Julie was shocked. But Gaspar was like, yeah, I did what I had to do. I did what needed to be done. I was like, oh, well, yeah. There you go.
Now we have the final five.
Yeah. We do. And that was that. We saw the preview. Did you watch the preview?
I did, yeah. And oh my god, it's going to be very interesting. Every single person is entering the vault one last time.
Yep.
To do something.
Something.
My guess is that it's probably going to be $35,000 because it's just consistently going up and up and up and up and up.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be $35,000 to do probably
somebody out.
It's probably going to be a vote, or if I had to take a guess, the amount of people who have to be eliminated.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
For every single person that votes, one more person will be forced to leave the trust.
Mm-hmm.
That's honestly what I think it is, because I mean, so just over the course of this game, they've only not hit like a full run once. Like they've only not eliminated someone one time.
Once.
So it was always a plan to end the game and have the final trust ceremony with 4. So how could it ever get down to 1? That's because my thought is that this is a universal ending. This is an ending that if every single player decides to play greedy, every single player loses the game. If every single player decides to play innocently, no one loses the game. But for every single person that is greedy, someone has to go. And it's a pure guess. Obviously, I don't work for Netflix.
Do you now?
I can't say that I work for Netflix.
Okay.
I don't think I do. If I work for Netflix, that is news to me.
Okay. If you work for Netflix, I'm very upset that you didn't tell me this, because I'm like, you could have got me on a Netflix show a long time ago, Jack.
If I work for Netflix, I don't think I'd be able to do this.
I don't think you'd be able to do this at all. No.
But ultimately, I just want to say this is probably one of the most enthralling shows that Netflix has put out in a long time.
It is. It's so good. It's very interesting. My concern is I don't know if they could do this again.
At this point, they can try to do it again. Probably will never happen.
I just don't see it being the same. But who knows?
I mean, they'll have a bunch of people who will. I mean, it's going to be the Squid Game effect, where it's like, oh, everyone knows how this game works now, and they'd have to completely change it, because someone would go in there and say, no matter what, I'm going to vote every single round, and it'll become the thing with this game, and the reason I'm wary that this will ever become a game that you could ever actually run as an org. One, it relies entirely on a cash prize existing. There is no game to be played other than for pure bragging rights.
Right.
And someone being like, yeah, I want to cause chaos. There's no reason beyond like pre-gaming that this game ever works outside of money. But also, if you take away the money and you give it to a bunch of people who are immediately willing to cut and backstab each other, this game is Survivor without vote reveals and without immunity, which means you form a majority, you win, and there's no questions.
Right.
Unless you have something with vaults. So this is probably a one and done.
Yeah, that's what I think. I think that's what it probably is, because I just don't see it being something that they could recreate that people don't already know what they're going to do. But anyway, either way, we go enjoy it while we can, because This has been really good.
It's so
But
good.
that's it though for this week. We are going to be back next week for the finale episode. We're going to talk about all things the trust. And if you stuck around for this long while we talked about the trust, I kind of think you like us. And if you kind of like
Just
us,
a little bit.
a little bit. And if you like us, why don't you subscribe to the channel? We appreciate the new subscribers that we've been getting this week. I see you. We see you. We appreciate you. We need a whole lot more of you. We would love to grow our channel. Share it with your friends if you know anybody who loves reality TV or anything else. It takes a half a second to hit that button and subscribe to the channel. Do all the things that say you support us, and we appreciate you so very much. If you're a fan of drag or anything drag, go support our main channel, The Cup Pod. We do content almost every single day about almost all things drag. If you're a fan of Eurovision, go support our Eurovision channel at The Cup ESC, where we do almost all things Eurovision. So go check that out. If you want to give us a monetized donation, we appreciate that. Go to The Cup Pod and do that. All the proceeds that you send to us will go right back into this channel to help us build it up. And if you want to follow us on our socials, you can go to at The Cup Pod on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, because we have funny moments and we put funny things out there on those social medias. And if you want to follow Jack and I, you can do that. Our handles are down there. Go follow Jack on his Twitch stream, because Jack's an awesome gamer and a good Twitch streamer. So go follow Jack.
When I
do
have
those
time,
things.
yeah.
When he has time, life happens. Get your cup merch. The link will be in the description below. Not limited to, but you can get the cup mug or any of our other cup merch. And on that note, I say cheers, y'all.
Cheers.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye. There is no
Don't be
theme song
greedy.
to sing at the end. Don't be greedy. Yeah. My integrity is not for sale.